Okay, let's start the stream. Just edited those zoom areas, so hopefully they are correct now. So if I here, uh, seems like the area is correct, but I should probably. Not sure if I can change them during the stream, but hit the screen, so now it should be decent, I think. Okay. Yeah, it seems like the same problem is now. Yeah. Well, anyway, this is the only table running now, so yeah. Well, I edit these on the run. To screen. This is the correct way to do things. Do them just 1 minute before the start of the session. So I hit the set here, really dry flop, so there's really no reason to be raising anything. Or you can raise if you want to bluff raise something like 10-9 of hearts or something sometimes. And both villains checking, so let's bet ourselves. Hopefully someone has the king but lose pretty bad. And probably they didn't have the king. And last fits to screen, so it should be quite okay now. Should be quite okay. Let's open the YouTube control panel thing also here, so I can follow commenting and stuff if someone happens to come. So there seems to be some drop frames, but hopefully my connection is in decent shape. So let's take pre-flop here. We actually got shot with our overcard plus weak draw here, so let's check call against that sizing. I suppose you could raise as well sometimes, but 10 on the table 3, I'm actually going to just go for c-bet and willing to stack off if it goes to that way. Yeah, just chipping here. Like even if they happen to have the set, of course, then we are going to be in a little bit worse shape, but against fizzy players, our ace might sometimes be good as well. Okay, he had the set, but we managed to luck box. And I mean, I play fast here if I have set or maybe straight sometimes as well, so I definitely want some bluffs in here as well. Of course some combo draws would be reasonable and pretty much the A-high flush draw in my opinion. I could have called as well on the turn, but oh yeah, don't play the replayer here. Well, we managed to make the fizzy type of win 3, but not totally horrible combo, by the way. Okay. Well, that was cheap overall. So where I place it? Here, so there's absolutely no danger of doing something. I mean, yeah, I can call here, but the thing is that the bot is going to be almost 1100, so there's going to be like a bit over pot size remaining, and it's kind of awkward then if the villain makes sizable bet and we have to fold, so. And it's also kind of like some portion of time villain can have also, of course, weaker draw here. This guy went totally crazy pre-flop. So let's see, I have the 25 euro on the registration as well, just started the session, so. And on the upper right, will lane checked, so this is pretty standard spot to go for sizable turn bet and sizable river bet on the blank card. In here we have got shot, but it went check. 9 is somewhat unlikely to improve villains, and when the small blind check, it will decrease 9x from his combo somewhat, so from his range I mean. So it's not horrible spot to, and actually not that bad spot to double barrel the river, especially if it's blank one in a way that we don't block the draws villains could have much with that sort of hand. Like I'm much more happy overall to bluff that sort of hand again on the river compared to some positive flush draw or something like that. Pocket threes. Deposit sort of close because it's pretty dry flop, but at the same time, especially the bottom, I think will have decent amount of time, some sort of a high or king x pocket pair. Of course, he might have some weaker stuff as well, but I don't think it's fine to go for c-bet and try to take the pot down, but it's always kind of awkward when you are in those multi-way pots with hand that doesn't really have that much possibility to improve. So we got 25 euro running, and it seems like another 25 might start quite soon as well. So weak flush draw on the bottom left, I will be basically folding to pretty much every bet. And I don't like to semi-bluff here with just weak flush draw. I mean, if I had 7-6, so that I had also the gut shot 10, yeah, I would go for it, but Well, ace king, limp limp limp. Let's make sizable raise and see what happens. I mean, sort of minimal sizing is, the minimum sizing is around 100, well 150 at least. And yeah, the bad side of having the tables like this is that even on the zoomed table it does can end up that way. Well, I will try to see that here relatively. It's a relatively dry flop. On the bottom left, it's going to be that hand pretty much. And luckily both of them folded on the table 4. Yeah, the zoom thing, it doesn't really work that well, I suppose, when you have the tables like this. Not sure if you could. Well, it's probably impossible to get it so that it wouldn't. Yeah, it's not possible to sort of block the other table from being visible. Well, let's bet half pot on the table 4. If I get raised, I probably just give up. And I think I actually go for check call on the top right. They might rep AX with a lot of hands here. And we actually hit the straight. So I will go for bet and hopefully no one raises me. But I don't know, I don't go for big sizing because it's going to be a pretty scary board to call, but general player pool will be able to make calls with weaker stuff here. Only awkward side is that they might overplay straight, so they might raise with the straight as well, so at least if it's not huge sizing, then it's kind of awkward to fold either. And let's go for 70 on the top left. Problem is that if I make the table small enough that they wouldn't go over each other, bet of 40. Kind of awkward because all of my outs or cards that improve me are going to be sort of unclean. Oh, he raised. I think it's a bit problematic when he makes it that big. So yeah, the zooming thing doesn't really work that well. I'm not sure if because currently the way I do the zoom is to take the region of the screen. So just thinking that is it possible to just kind of choose one window for it, so even if there was overlap, it wouldn't matter. Well, I'm kind of too deep to shove on the top left, so let's just take calling option. It's pretty decent flop overall. And just giving up on the bottom left. And ace wasn't really something I wanted to see. Yeah, it's not actually bad spot for Willen to bluff, but yeah, can't really do much with pocket sixes. I think it's kind of fine either way. On the bottom left, we can bet to basically get the pot down pretty often, but of course, usually Willen is not going to fold for anything better, and he might sometimes make some sort of move anyway, and we have some showdown value, so there are a lot of reasons to be just taking the check line, and we can just check fold if he bets. It's not a problem really. And classical flip on the top right. This is actually a spot where I go for c-bet and stack off or call if he raise. I don't know about bet sixes here. It's kind of awkward because this guy can still make like legal raise, so it's not like guaranteed by any means that I get the flop by calling. And yeah, if I see bet, I think I have to stack off. I could have checked back on the turn as well, but I was thinking that he doesn't have really that much here often. But yeah, let's go with it. And yeah, he didn't have much, but he just nailed it. Oh Jesus. Man of funky lines. And that's, I think he actually might even be a Reki player, at least somewhat familiar name, I suppose. I think 4-5 is something I can use as bluff on the top left. And yeah, I will stack with the ace jack, especially with the, okay, he had it. With the dead chips from the bottom, he's going to fold almost always. Yeah, I mean, when I go for overpot size, I'm basically repping just AX. I don't think it's a problem because I have a lot of AX here, or good amount of AX. I think there is some argument to make thin value bet on the top right. And it's, well, Villain doesn't often have the ace or king X that much. Well, on the bottom left we would have sort of classical check raise possibility. Big chunk of missed draws. I think I just give up here. And open ender on the, yeah, it's a high flop, so I'm not usually too eager to bluff these, but this is actually pretty decent spot to go for sizable turn bet and sizable river bet. He also blocked the straight possibility somewhat. On the top bottom left we can go for c-bet stack off. Or check back and go for delayed c-bet. But yeah, it's boards that should be hitting small blind calling range pretty often, though he had earlier hand like king 5 suited, I think. Which definitely shouldn't be in small blind calling range. Not sure, like it feels like the tables are somehow being slow today. And we actually have the, yeah, I will go for bet here. I think I go for somewhat, let's go a bit over half, but if he has the jack he probably raises anyway. Oh, he has the 6. If I make that sort of sizing I might get even some one pair hands to call some portion of time. Might induce some sort of bluff raises now and then. And Queen 8 suited is going to be called in the Nash range, I think. It's close though, so I don't really mind either way. Just call, it has great possible playability. And on the bottom right, I will just go for bet, bet, bet and hope that the villain has the AX, which he probably won't be willing to let go too easily. I just call with the king 10 on the upper right in the heads up because I also have the diamond, so diamond on the turn is really not issue. So this time it would have been, but not range wise. Okay, now he might actually have the flush when he donk bets, or make some sort of blocker bet, but of course I will go for shove, and let's see if he calls with something. And he calls even with the AX. Kind of funny. Funny line ahead on the top left, but not on the showdown. Not on the showdown. We are pretty deep on the top right, so I think I just call. Holding would be too weak, and ace 9 is kind of close on the top left. I go for the shove, but you can fold it either also. And let's just call here. Well, it did manage to get something awkward here, but obviously I'm not folding. Even if he has the 10, we have 10 out most of the time. And luckily he didn't have. It's kind of, well, questionable shove from the villain on the turn, because what weaker hand can I? Well, of course I can hero call something weaker, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, of course it's always awkward situation in terms when you are with the pocket jacks here with shallow stacks. Well, he might have some 2 pairs or something, but or maybe some 9 jack. Well, it would be a pretty weird line. Okay, queen 5. Queen 5. Yeah. Just don't know if I can fold it here. Anyway. But like if the villain had checked the river, I would have value bet anyway, so it's not. The outcome wasn't really that different, but maybe I could have hero folded it here. Possibly. Well, some nice action into 25 euros today. Pocket 3 is mandatory call. And he has out, but right. Well, let's go for the trap line. We also have the diamond, so it's like the best possible combo for it if you want to use anything for that sort of option. Min bet. Well, let's just take the free draw. 9 might be good. And yeah, for that price I probably call and hope that he bets with some sort of 8x or has the air or something. And he has the air. Okay. Easy fold here, but it's more interesting option that if he checks that you really want to turn that into bluff. Well, it would have been pretty good option to turn into bluff actually. Pretty much the weakest hand we can basically have it here. Pretty much the weakest hand. Needed spot to raise on the bottom right, wide, but king deuces is not really something I want to go for. Not really hand that plays well, and it's quite easily dominated as well against the limp calling stuff. On the top right you can also just call, of course. It's basically fine either way, and we actually get the monster flop pretty much. Let's go for sizing that we can shove if the villain calls, but still leave some space for him to think about having fold equity if he makes flop raise or something. And now we have like pot size bet also with the redraw. We could also check here when we have the pretty much everything we can have here, but yeah. The bottom right, pretty standard open raise as default. Depends on the villains, of course, that some people are eager to play against that situation as well. Some people shut down. In here I will go for the raise. It's crappy enough hand that if the villain happens to make limp shove, it's not really issue. From the part that we can be pretty easily folding it. Well, let's just limp. It has great postal playability. 58, 9 off. And we can actually go for value here. And small blind actually calls. Okay. Was just thinking that if the report will check that, could I try to see bet small and take the pot down. On the bottom right, the small blind is now the smallest stack, so he's a bit less good target to go for light raises. On the outer table, small blind limps, I raise, he makes min 3 bet, and then he goes for, oh Jesus. Well, I have to fold here against 4 times the pot C bet, but kind of awkward when you get flush draw. Or not awkward that you just have to fold here, but it's not never nice feeling to get forced out of pot like that. And monster hand on the bottom right. And huge blind on the bottom left. Four-handed, that is. Usually it's already heads up at that point. Yeah, I think I have sometimes had like still five-handed situation with something like I probably still have to fold crappiest ace because I'm so even stacked here with the other stack. On the top left I would have folded offsuit king 3, but I think suited it's still going to be good enough. And practical nuts on the top right. Unfortunately, will lane hits it. And against win race, I will defend with the crappy queen. Limp. Well, I probably still have good amount of fold equity, so let's go for the shove. Of course, completing would be option as well. Well, good equity here, but no luck. 45%, I think, or maybe a bit less. Maybe a bit less. And 9 queen will be good enough on the bottom left. Oh well, this guy goes as well, so now my pot odds are better, so I think I probably call here because of the better pot odds now. I would have folded otherwise, but and pretty great flop on the bottom left. Oh Jesus, like so annoying to see that sort of stuff happen. Bottom pair weak draw. Let's shove 10 big blind, like oh, Jesus. Oh well. Not going my weight here. Just call on the top left on that sort of flop. There is pretty much no draw possibilities. Probably tough to get value, but let's try. Well, I kind of have to play my king 8 here on the top left. And let's go for donk shove. Probably never getting folds, but at least both of them. But Can't really fold anyway against bets, so. And we were alive with the king or 8. And we into shove. Let's see what is the hand. Well, he had pretty decent hand anyway. Okay, he wasn't sitting out. I would have open folded deuce 8 normally, but he has the sit out marked here, so just tried to make the limp steal, and we can try to take a really cheap bluff on the river. And awesome turn card. And king 9 at the bottom right is shove. Tomorrow might actually be pretty interesting because we are probably getting our new boat on the water, so we basically have like 3 people who have. I will actually go for shove. This seems like really active player, so let's hope he doesn't make some stupid. Okay, he had pretty decent ace, but that's reasonable. I mean, if he had made some ace 10 raise call or something, it would have been a lot worse for me, that is. And we have the nuts pretty much on the top right. Hopefully Villain has AX as well, so nah, not that AX. Not that AX. Well, that was straightforward line from the Villain at least. It's a limp spot on the bottom left, so I go for second value bet here. And Jack 7 is definitely strong enough to be, well, once again made stupid misclick. The bottom, top left. Well, it didn't change the situation too much. And light raise succeeded on the top right. That's the point in those situations, that you don't really want to raise like queen 10 for smaller sizing and 10 face the shove and have to fold. But if you have some total garbage, then total garbage or good hand, then you don't really have any real problem here decision wise. And yeah, not the greatest board on the bottom left, especially with the jack pairing. So if the real lane had jack, now it's ahead as well. Now the king is ahead as well. So my queen became check check check. There's pretty much no value in betting anymore. And Jack then suited, I will go for shove. It's just too good to be. Oh, well, I'm going to lose on the top left really often. I suppose a high is something I could go for. Bluff raised here. Or bluff bet. this is the heads up check pre-flop, so AX is somewhat unlikely. There is 2 flush draws. And we actually hit the trips on the river. So I think this is kind of situation that I just go for shove probably. If the villain has busted draw, I probably don't get value anyway. If he has some sort of Jack X or AX, maybe then he might hero call with all the busted draws anyway. Nice looking flop on the top right, but ace screwed that up. And I go for 3-bet call on the top left. It's not mandatory, you can call as well, but 3-bet folding is definitely something to not do. Well, it's nice when you check the queen deuce and flop the flush. I was thinking about shoving because you are less often, in general, people are less often going to be limp calling queen X's compared to some king X's, so I'm much more happy in general to shove this sort of hand compared to king deuce or something like that. This is again spot that we definitely want to go for shove with hand as strong as that. He has ton of bluff catchers once again. And we pretty much beat almost all of his range, and if we bet smaller and he raise, we are going to stack off anyway, so if he has better, we are losing our full stack always, so it's not a problem from that side, but we just go for the shove directly. And €25 game just doesn't go my way, it seems. It's 5 suited mandatory shove again. Oh well. That was crappy bubble. I think I lost like 3 or 4 all-ins in a row or something. Crappy stuff. Crappy stuff. This is not actually horrible combo to go for check raise if you... Of course I would prefer to have 9-7, but let's try anyway. Some nice backdoors. Just don't do these often. But mixing ins now and then, it's totally fine. But yeah, we are going to get probably tomorrow. Well, I'm not sure. They might have gotten the new boat on the water today as well. So hopefully getting some sailing this week. So yeah, we got previous boat, like I think it was 3 or 4 years ago or something. I think 4 years ago, but it was basically first year we were doing some sailing, then it was basically 2 summers on repairing, and this summer some people basically vandalized the whole boat, so a lot of work hours down the drain, so to say. So we had the insurance in it, so got some decent money out of it anyway. And this guy making min 3-bet. obviously never folding anything. And we have this second nut flush, draw 2 overcards, and pot size bet. Well, folding feels still a bit weak though. Raising and stacking off seems a bit optimistic, so let's try to call. Maybe we get some chances to take the pot down sometimes, but that is pretty crappy. Pretty crappy card. And I go for shove on the bottom left. Usually these people are just overfolding these pots, but not always. They might just limp call Jack 10 sometimes. So it's kind of Pandora's box situation that you never know, but most of the time they are folding a lot of time, so most of the time, lot of time. But the point is that there are some people that can make some totally stupid limp calls as well. I have seen stuff like Will Lane limp calling like 5-4 suited for 10 big blind. I suppose the logic is that they want to see the flop and then they don't really want to fold either. And we actually get the monster draw on the. I wouldn't really semi-bluff that many hands here, but it has checked twice on flop and turn, so even though it's 4-way pot, we should have decent amount of fold equity. Probably. And probably just checking on the bottom left, we have some tiny bit showdown value with the queen high. Pretty stupid line from the 10 jack suited because he had 0 fold equity and it's not really strong enough here. And it's not like the open razor would have been extremely short stack anyway. Five deuce suited, great pot odds, but yeah, let's just give up here. Well, I probably need to take 110 euro here. So we have a lot going on. I can't really set mine on the top right, and pocket fours don't have don't have post-flop playability, so calling is going to be minus EV pretty much. Of course, this time it would have hit. Villain has 3 PP, so he's probably not folding. And mid pair is practical, not. Okay, he was trapping and he actually hit the trips, but it's not good anymore. Well, that time the trap actually worked because 3-7 off was one of those very few hands that I could have folded pre-flop against 3 PP sub. Barely. Phew, that was huge turn card for the villain. And yeah, I think his call was actually a reasonable one. Not totally sure if it was in the NAS, but really close anyway. And pocket fours. And probably min raise, but it's kind of awkward if the small blind happens to shove. Like usually with the less than 20 PP effective stacks, you don't want to do too much of those small pocket pair raising, open raises, but when it's that late position, and well, in 500 games, it's not never that late early position. I mean, so. And we can look for check raise on the bottom right. If it goes check, it's not really that bad thing because it's free equity. Free equity for my hand anyway. And 5-6 is not strong enough here. I think something like 7-8 I would go with in that spot, but 5-6 is most likely going to be somewhat minus EV. And calling is totally fine unless villain has really, or the problem is if he has really trap heavy or even polarized range, it's kind of can be a kind of awkward, but because then hitting something like this is not going to be good that often, but most of the time they have pretty wide ranges still here. The thing is, like here, ace queen, you don't really want to min raise this sort of hand, because then you give the really cheap price for the villain. Villain to call, he might call something like 7-8 and has huge amount of equity. So if you want to have polarized range here, then you want to polarize it usually really heavily, basically into pretty big pockets and then some chunky hands pretty much. And we actually revert straight, so it's going to be mandatory raise pretty much. Villain could have 5x as well, so of course he might have sometimes the like pocket 3s or king 5 or something like that, but let's hope for the best. I think I go for the shove with the 6-5, it's pretty close to And just trying to check the showdown with the A high on the bottom right. And I think this guy has been decently active. Not that great post-flop hand, but we have the ace blocker at least, so. And he uses 2.5 pp, which is pretty standard, of course, from the small blind to not min raise, but. Seven queen. It's kind of hand that in the NAS you can probably call, but against the player pool, it's probably fine to just give up. Obviously not giving up anymore, but we can just call here as well. It's extremely dry flop, so. And now we actually hit the 2 pairs. And I will go for shove. And in the bottom left, if the button folds, we have to pretty much play any two. And hopefully lane doesn't make. Of course, if you have a solid read that Villain does make some absurd calls, for example 10 it's totally reasonable to be folding, trying to play small ball with more stuff and so on. I think I check on the top left. I don't have that big of a kicker with the second middle pair as well. Now we have the combo draw and don't hit anything. And now just checking and hoping that Hoping that 8 is enough, but it's not. Oh yeah, well, like you can bluff here, but like the main reason why I didn't bluff here was that I thought that the villain is not going to be betting the turn necessarily that much with like plain top pair type of hands when it's board like that. So, but of course, if we assume that he has good amount of top pairs, then it's much more reasonable to try to bluff and turn the hand into bluff. Try to get those type of hands to fold. I think the queen 10 on the top left was actually quite marginal, but against active players it should be fine. And here on the €10 game, I called pre-flop. We actually get the combo draw. I just called here again. He has AX probably decent amount of time and most likely not folding it anyway. And I think here it's probably best to just shove, and because he might check back some of the AXs, but probably not folding trips anyway, so. Could this guy just shove when I always have some monster hands on the big blind? Well, a lot of pocket pairs. Okay. And yeah, 9-7 is definitely strong enough. And he wakes up with dominating hand. And going for 3-bet on the top left, obviously. Not going for 3-bet here with the ace-king is sort of crime. And just can't hit on the bottom left. Have to remember play the actually kind of bad timing. Should have played it. You made that free roll to the 2K package on the previous week, but I'll have to see if I might have to play it on mobile device. Because I will be on the one of the gap-ins on the weekend, so King 5 off is actually hand. You can shove, you can limp. It's fine. Fine either way. I go for like 3-bet on the top left. Have to call, of course, against the big blind if he happens to wake up. And this is actually boards that I obviously have to stack off if the villain happens to shout here. And ace queen definitely stack off, especially with the small blind calling, which is again going to be dead chips most of the time. And can't just give that heart, queen, king, anything like that. On the top left, the small blind has been pretty passive looking, so let's hope he doesn't wake up with anything. On the bottom right, you can actually check back that sort of queen x's sometimes that you have the diamond as support, so it's not as bad if the diamond happens to come. Obviously can't defend against 4 PP open. Queen 10 is actually, I think I have to call against 8 PP. Just I need like 35% equity or something like that. Pocket aces. And no action. Seems like the 4 PP is the standard for the mean must on the bottom right. Well, now we get to 3-bet again against the Dove boy. And Queen Jack off. Well, I think against these people I can go for the min raise fold as better line than open shove. Seven, 9 off. It's probably quite closed here. Kind of funny, I once again have value hand. Hopefully he doesn't have better one. I actually like from the villain plate here, nice blockers for the move. Unfortunate that I had, of course, well, it's always like, do you want to go for those leveling ideas that if the villain has been 3-betting you all the time and he's once again 3-betting you, that is he now strong or weak? But yeah, I think it's kind of problematic sort of way, because it might not be the biggest deal for the villain, it might be just about the hand range that he just, like for me, I personally, of course, I do count those situations, like in that situation I would be a bit less likely to be making any sort of light 3-bet, but then again, if you have a nice hand for it, it's reasonable play. But the problem is that if you start to think like, okay, now the villain is making it third time, now he must be strong, and you start to make like big laydowns and so on. That's where the issues can start to pop up. And losing the flip, unfortunately, here. Ace deuce, we can go for raise fold. And on the top left, if the bottom folds, I would be making as default small raise with pretty much any two. But again, depends on the villain, that if you have a read that he is defending, I will just fold. It's pretty coordinated board, and villain does see bet it, so I think it's not necessary to defend it here. And the problem is that if I call, it's going to be 1000 on the turn, and I have to fold pretty much to any further aggression, unless I happen to hit 5 outer. Like even if I turn straight draw here, it's not going to be really enough to continue against most choices. On the top left, we'll then had 6 high, and he just checked to showdown. Against 2.5 PP, I think it's pretty awkward to defend 10-6 off, or it's kind of the border area. Basically, there is no reason to be using over min raise on the heads up. Like I know about heads up breaks that don't use over min raise even if they are really deep, so I don't think there is too much point in making it bigger with the sell over stacks pretty much. Well, you can make it as exploitative line, but like as default it doesn't really make too much sense. And can't fold ace-9 suited. And poet 6s I will shove on the top left. And bottom left, definitely will lane flop. He gets the free flop, so he can have anything here. Pretty much, maybe not sets, but pretty much anything else. I don't know about bottom left, that do I want to really see bet that, because most of the better hands are not folding, and it's sort of connected in a way that the lane can have a lot of stuff to continue against small c-bet. And tough to get value in the top left, but it's kind of mandatory. I think there is some merit in betting on the bottom left, but the lane can definitely have some AXs as well, so I think it's a bit too thin for my taste on the bubble. And we also don't have that great kicker with our king, so we might lose to some king X. He might Might play passively here. Okay, I went for c-bet because I thought that the villain had been pretty, I think had been somewhat passive, so, but yeah, that's the problem of c-betting, that, well, you can call it here as well, but it's kind of awkward. On the top right, the question is there value in raising? I think I go for shove here. He can definitely call with weaker AXs. I'm not sure if he would play like that with often enough with something better. And I will go for the shove. He uses the 2.5 PP and has been pretty active, so getting a bit better risk reward compared to min raise, against min raise. And a lot of action, but I can't be folding pocket jacks here. Ace 8. Ooh, that was quite something. That was quite something. So does the table pop up somewhere or not? Didn't really expect that villain turns with ace 8 off here, but yeah, nice outcome. And against min bet I can basically call. Sometimes I might end up winning or might hit the 4. Seems like some issues with the connection side. Oh well, don't love the situation with the ace queen, but I think with the possible positions we have, it's probably somewhat okay to stack off. Funny line by the villain overall, because and he gets split, but lucky assholes. But what weaker hand is going to call? Shove with the ace then suited with 30 big blinds? That's the question. That's the question he should be asking. And 8 was enough this time. A6 off, I will just fold here. Ace deuce will again go for the min raise fold option. This time better outcome. Let's just check and see if we turn some equity on the top left. This guy really likes to min bet. my luck on the bubbles is so awesome today. The bottom left there is less value in making any sort of non-all-in play because small blind has bigger stack than the big blind. Kind of interesting flop on the bottom right. Can beat some straight draws, but yeah, not going to hero. At the bottom left, small blind really shouldn't have any calling range, but once again in his side, that's not going to apply. And ace queen I will just go for 3-bet call. One tap flip. Was pretty unfortunate on the bottom left to run into with that ace-5 shooter and small blind versus blind into bigger ace. Well, our 6 deuce is actually pretty good on that board, range-wise. Well, the point is that Willem practically never has the 8 usually here. I think they would often play it otherwise, so I probably make the hero call here, but not really that great. Had to look for a moment that did he somehow win, but and pocket 5's mandatory call and way ahead and has to lose. Well, I will go for sizable turn bet and stack off on the bottom right if the villain shoves. If he calls here and we don't improve, he's most likely going to call the river anyway, so we can we be ahead here against weaker flush draw? Well, let's call. I mean, we are going to lose that like 99% of time, but at least we see the villain hand, if nothing else. Yeah, I think this has been once again quite nasty session from the all in situation wise. And pretty bad board on the bottom right. But against Minbet once again can't be folding. Okay, Minbet and Minraise. Well, now I probably can give up. I don't know if the spade is good or bad. Does he take that sort of one? Well, he might sometimes take it with spade draw, but I think he often has some sort of weak stuff, but of course it would be okay, he has the nuts. Most likely. Would be better to have the spade blocker, but anyway. And didn't get river action from my absolute nuts. Just calling on the top left. I don't really want to be shoving like almost 30 pp. And have to call on the bottom right those min donk bets. Well, he probably has something. Advanced min donk bet. Lines. Kind of nice hand, but I don't know about my fold equity on the top right. Villain has to like, well, he had 10 big blinds. So yeah, very standard stack of well, let's try on the bottom right. Well, this guy cold calling the 3 check raise, so he probably has something, but now he min bets and I do have probably some equity, so not low flush on the top left. Question is, do we want to value bet? Not low. Kind of okay hand to shove on the top right, but again, how much fold equity we have is the tough question. And 2 heads ups going on. And bubble here on the 8-5 suited. Well, I can definitely shove, but it wouldn't be bad to win by turn. But either way, it's totally fine. And nuts on the limp spot, so let's see if we get pot size value. If he has some sort of pass, it's pretty good. Good possibility that he is calling. And I think I go for bet on the bottom right when I don't have the hearts myself, so it's a bit better combo to have. I pluck some of the like king jack, queen ten type of stuff. And on the top right, just checking and folding to reasonable bet size. Well, queen 9, I would have called against the shove. I think against some random fish, it's probably fine to just shove and take the pot down really often. A lot of crappy AXs, at least on the top left, which is not such bad thing most of the time, and absolute mega nuts on the bottom left. Let's go for funky min raised here. Might be the optimal line. And 8-10 I have to call pretty much against like 4 PP. Interesting spot on the bottom left that could we go for even like shoved here, but question is he calling that sort of AX hand against shove anymore or not? Because if he's not, then our shove is hugely on the minus side basically. Or at least not optimal. Against 3 PP, I don't know, I don't really like any buttons. Don't really want to shove 30 PP, but if I make 3 bet smaller sizing, it's going to be a pretty big portion of my stack anyway, and calling as well from the small blind against 3 big blind is not really that awesome option, so okay, had the gut shot here and third pair, so I think turn call is fairly standard. And shoving on the top right. If The small blind doesn't 3-bet. I think against that small sizing, I kind of have to call with the 9x. Let's peel with the queen 10 because there are turn cards decent amount that are going to improve my hand, so we can try to make some plays. Oh, well, 480. It's probably crappy enough that we can just fold. That is one weird guy. Loves betting, at least. I suppose he was bluffing with the bottom pair. And huge amount of equity here on that flop and, well, pre-flop as well. I had bit over 10 big blinds, so I can assume some fold equity. And pretty much free draw for the flush on the bottom right. And he min bets 2 times, and now he 3x's again here. I think it's probably most reasonable to just shove. And huge setup, hopefully we hold, but no. Oh well, one of these days. One of these days. Trying to limp on the top left. No trap this time. That's the reason you want to be limping some of the trap hands as well. Well, let's go for the raise. Only bad side of that is if the villain makes a 3-bet, but against that we can actually still draw. unbeatably. But on the other side, like, there is good chance to get a lot of better hands to fold. And ace king. Ace 3, well, the nice thing is that we have the ace of hearts. Well, it's anyway clear check calling hand, but well, now we hope that we'll lane checks. This is actually a spot where it's like almost impossible to get value by betting, so at least against any reasonable opponent. Plus draw completing. I can have a lot of king x's, I can have a x's, and having the ace with no kicker is pretty low on my range. I just call on the bottom right, we have the club ourselves, so again there is less reason to protect, and that's once again the most awkward turn card you can put here. Oh well. Well. Thing is was that it was 3-bet, but I blocked the nut flush from the middle lane. I don't know, it might be too nitty, but it's just that if you call here, are you then folding if he fires again, or a clear check on the top left. Yeah, that was the like most awkward turn card it can placed here. And €50 game started. On the bottom left it's kind of flopped that you can see it, but checking is totally reasonable as well. Combo draw on the bottom right. Luckily he didn't call. Seemed to be the master of not hitting those. Well, of course it's kind of either way. It's fine if the villain calls. It's fine if he folds, because you have so many outs still to nuts basically. So pocket tens versus queens on the outer table. Losing that one. Being pretty active on the bottom left, so let's just go for the shout here. And stacking off on the bottom left if the villain shoves. The €50 3-bet pocket tens here. Luckily got just with small c-bet pot down. I mean, with the pocket tens there is definitely some merit in just c-betting, because there are still decent amount of overcards that villain, especially in three-way pot, is easily going to have. So, and of course you can make like the small c-bet with your whole range, so it's going to be kind of easier to play that way. And wait for second barrel here with the ace queen. Not trying to get any king x to fold, but and pocket sixes is the nuts, it seems. The bottom left, I think it's a bit too strong to be folded on the flop right away with the king high and gutshot, but it's not really that great spot. The upper right, just trying to check to showdown if possible. That €10 heads up is taking like forever. And aiming for check raise on the upper left. Not the greatest turn card, but I think it's still best to go for the bet. Well, I don't know. Not sure about the river, what is the best one. He shouldn't really have too many bluffs in that spot. This is like 10th time on the session that heads up ends like that. Clear shoving hand and running into a king, ace king. On the bottom left we actually beat some of the value range. Well, we beat some of the in 4x before, but now also some 2 pairs. Queen 5. I suppose it's not horrible to try to limp. And can't really fold check 9 suited, I think. It's up to 13 pp in the Nash, so. Never ending heads up. Well, at least he seems to be aggressive against the limping. Until I go for the trap. Well, king deuce is always profitable. And it sucks post flop. Well, I think this would be pretty borderline on the Nash, but well, actually a bit outside of Nash. Well, now we have the trap and snap check. Well, let's hope that he triple barrels without 4-5. And pocket tens is mandatory shove on the top left. Kind of nice c-betting hand on the top left. It has good amount of possible turn cards that improve us. Stack size is only awkward part. This could be a reasonable spot to check shove, I suppose. That way at least I don't face any awkward, like if I bet and he shoves situations. And it worked exactly as I hoped for, obviously. But the point is, even if he calls, we have at least a decent amount of equity. And just can't win on the heads up. Like how many of those situations have I lost? Aces, aces, aces. Pot size bet, but we also have the king of clubs, so let's call and hit the 2 pair. What the heck happened here? Totally crazy stuff. Okay, let's try to place it somewhere that I don't manage to click any bad. Did I actually win? Well, well, that was pretty crappy call from the little end, but I mean, if I shove almost 20 pp pocket 3 is definitely not calling hand, but yeah, not surprising. And I like it's kind of my ups and I don't love the option to shove it here, but it's definitely going to be plus EV, so I don't think it's horrible. Not horrible option, but not really like that awesome either. And pocket ace is on the outer table, and a lot of action. Let's go for kind of too small sizing. Well, not too small really, because the stack sizes are not that deep with the 3 people big blind open, raise and call. They actually managed to fold both of them, which is kind of surprising. Of course, my play does look really strong, but and have to call in the heads up with the queen high and backdoor stuff. And on the top left, this is actually pretty nice check back with the backdoor. With the backdoor. Plus draw. Well, let's call with that price. Ace king, well, that was the not hand I was expecting. And he hits the straight on the top left. Unfortunate. Well, in here I opened, raised, set, check the flop, bet the turn. I go for the shove and let's see if he decides to make some Euro stuff. Euro stuff. Well, on the bottom top right, that applies a decent flop and awesome looking line. Hopefully he doesn't have the flush draw. Only backdoor one. That was just awesome line. And I don't quite have the straight flush, but unfortunately. But decent bluff gets candidate. And maybe villain is sometimes betting like straight or something. For some weird reason. Some weird reason. And just 2 overcards on the top left. Well, I think I go for sort of small value bets, less blocker bet. I mean, this guy might be fishy enough that he has some 7 or 5x. Maybe we get call from pocket 6s or a high or something. And hopefully he doesn't find the raise button, which would be kind of awkward or weird line as well. Not sure if I would believe it. Jack 8 suited. Well, let's just give up when this guy limps. Went for a check call on the top bottom left on the flop. Yeah, just check folding it here. And on the top left we have 1/3 of the pot remaining, so reward the whales. Well, 7 is very often best hand on the top left, so I think I go for the bet here. Of course he hits this flush here. Let's just shove, hopefully at least the big blind won't wake up. And flipping and losing. Not sure if the connection have been working either. At least quite a bit of dropped frames, so probably some issues in the connection. Not sure if I could fold on the top right, but let's try to make some. What, it actually worked, both of them fold. Wow. Wow, wow. Miracles happens. Yeah, I can't fold pre-flop with the Jack-9 suited, and I don't really create. Well, the positive side of shoving pre-flop could be that we might get the pot. We might get the pot into heads up if someone isolates my shout here, but outside of that, prefab shove is not going to be that great option, and actually works pretty nice when they manage to fold both of them. And 2 pairs I kind of have to value bet on the, I think on the upright. Well, it's very weak top pairs, of course, so checking wouldn't probably be bad either. And queen high was good. Okay, 3s in the €50. No action. Well, the best outcome pretty much. And Jack 8 will be open shove if it's folded to me. And way ahead on the outer table, but huge fail goes for open raise and stacks off over 20 pp. Shove with the crappy AX. Yeah, it was shooted, but it was really crappy anyway. Oh, well. And ace 5 with the 7.5 pp, I think. It's pretty close, but there is also one really small stack, so it's probably fine to show. Not totally sure, it might be bit minus EV as well. Those 3 call and I lose. Oh well, poker can be annoying when it goes like this. I'm not totally sure about 8-5. Will Lane is Reki type of player, so he's not going to really fold pretty much anything probably. So folding 8-5 should be fine probably. Well, at least we got great hand on the button. And another nice hand if it's folded. Kind of miracle if we get 2 folds in row with those hands, but what it happened, and 3rd shove hand in row. King high might be good. Well, he was value betting with the King X. Well, miraculous comeback. Top left. this guy actually limp fold with the 6 big blind. Some solid poker. Some solid poker. Get fours. Well, if the UTG had shoved, I think I would have to ISO shove, but I would have folded against the cutoff shove. And 8 was not good anymore for the middle lane. Bottom 2 pairs. And no action. And ace king, there is basically just 10 big blind effective wise, so no need to make any min raises. I suppose it wouldn't be bad to check back on the bottom right, because if the villain has like 3x, there is good chance that he folds. Or if he has like 5-6 or something, he might bluff if I check. And if he has, on the downside is that if he has the 7x and club comes on the river, but and if he has the plus, I stack off him anyway, and probably stack off against the 7x as well, if the club doesn't come. So that went pretty nice. Well, it was obviously huge setup on the turn when he hits it, and I hit the full house. I think ace king is kind of close. Do you want to try to? I think we can try to induce. Of course, it has the downsides that villain might just call, but yeah, then we can proceed from here. It's like good and bad side. And ace for the top left. I have to call against the small blind. And I will be folding against the 3x from the bottom. Okay. Screw you, checks on the river. Well, ace-9 is going to be strong enough to shove. Let's hope for some good result from the 50 euro. I think I don't really want to 3-bet shove and 3-bet folding with that sort of stack at this bit. And yeah, ace deuce, I will just shove on the top left. Not bad if he folds, or actually greatest outcome if he folds. Oh well, awesome line from the villain as well. Let's min raise call with the pocket fours. Of course you don't want to shove, but the end result would have been same, so just stupid min raising overall. But nasty setup pretty much. Suited ace I can't be folding and always so crappy stuff. Add the bigger ace here. I would have folded against the third barrel. Deuce 9. Well, it seems like there is not much action either, so not sure if I should just end here the session and like I'm the only one registered into 25 and 50 euros, so oh well, let's take the short session. I can't really fold on the top left, but yeah, it's so weird line. I don't know if there would be some point in folding and hoping that this guy actually has the ace and they manage to stack off here. I don't know. Gut shot. Okay. Oh well. Crappy session. If I would win this, I think I would actually be quite close to break even, but €6 cash ticket. So how does it work? I should try to stack off. I think I have to stack off €4 and bit over so that I would get the €2 as real money. Quads. Well, that was enough. And let's use these promotion things that probably won't give anything. Outside of free roll tickets. I think this is actually a reasonable spot to just shove and take the 240 extremely often. Wow, this probably first time I have got that for far. So I want to just destroy these euros on the NL4. Only one. Oh Jesus. €10 Unibet open ticket. Yay. How awesome is that? Oh, now I actually cover this guy, so I might end up winning. Well, it doesn't look, or actually looks great, and doesn't look too cool on the top left. So how do I rebind this? I don't know. So for yeah, I can't now. Can I sit in for? Yeah, I can't. So now to try to get it bit below €2, and we get huge value from that useless gas ticket. And that thing crashed. Seems like the whole client crashed. Or the lobby at least. Went a bit over. Yeah, if there's like one correct on the last two, then it's going to be extremely small chance that you get to the end. Because well, not sure if it was 6 or 7 on the cold, but can they just continue and I can just fold and call, raise, thank you. It doesn't allow me to fold right away, yeah. Oh well. No, I was ahead as well. Some professional cash game stuff. Standard, almost 30 big blind. ISO raise. Well, I wasn't able to get down from the gas ticket, but not going to use time for that anymore once I played those free roll things. Not sure if I won that one €10 Unibet Open. So yeah, this is the ticket for the satellite into the live thing, I suppose, or something. I don't know. Not sure, but maybe. I don't know what these are. These qualifiers to something or. €50 Unibet Open. Well, no idea. But maybe they are like you can win the €50 and maybe use that €50 to finally get that 2K package or something. But anyway, that was the session for today. Thanks for watching, and like if you press the like button if you liked about it. Yeah, I have to check about the zooming thing, that can you somehow only get the certain table and not the whole screen if the tables top each other. But yeah, bye for now.